YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. The 2020 NFL schedules are out. I did a very recent video breaking down every single NFL team's schedule. We break it down in depth. But in this video, I determined that there are two clear easiest schedules and two clear hardest schedules. You know, most teams' schedules pretty normal, but there's really four altogether that really stand out. Two easiest, two hardest. We're going to break those down right here, and it's more than about the opponents and the records from last year. That really doesn't matter a whole bunch to me. The opponents do matter, but it's based on the layout, where everything is, when the games are, what time, the dates, when the bye week is. All that plays a part into how I evaluate these schedules. Before we get started, we're trying to reach that 50K sub goal. We're right there. We're right there at 50K. Really appreciate the support. We have two channels. We're trying to get that second channel to kind of match up. And we're going to be uploading more content to that in the future. And then we got our Twitter and our Instagram. That Twitter is an absolute must follow. We're going to have polls in the near future that will kind of involve you guys in the videos with the results. And then we're talking NFL constantly on there. So you're going to want to follow that. The podcast is back. We got about 8 episodes out. Making it 9 this weekend. Spotify, Apple, check it out. So who I would give probably the second easiest schedule layout to is going to be the Indianapolis Colts. It's right there with the other easiest schedule, so they're right there together. They really stand out. So the Colts, why I determined this was one of the easier schedule layouts. I like looking at layouts. I think it's more important than who they actually play. But the Colts are a team, I think a pretty complete team. They did the right things in the offseason, but there's some, they're important players that they added are some pretty important positions. You look at Phillip Rivers, you look at DeForest Buckner, just a lot of new faces there, always bringing in new draft picks. Michael Pittman is going to be, a key factor. It's a second-round pick rookie, same with Jonathan Taylor, perhaps, even Julian Blackmon, guys like that. So what that means is, and especially what, in a normal year, too, it would take some adjustments, obviously, but it's not a normal year. It's not a normal offseason. Less time to prepare, obviously. So, and especially with the new faces, new team, especially new quarterback. So that means it could be a little bit of a struggle early, based on that. It could be, that's what the past shows. Sometimes you kind of got that element of surprise, because there's so many new things going on and teams don't really know how to game plan on you early. But most of the time, there needs to be an adjustment period or finding your identity period. Kind of just reps get you there, basically. So what does that mean? The tougher part of the schedule could be early, but you look at these opponents early. You got Jacksonville, early on here. Probably the worst team in the division. You have a chance to beat them in Jacksonville here, and then the Vikings. Vikings got a lot of new faces too, actually. So that's definitely a winnable game, and they're home, but that might be a tougher one compared to the rest. The Jets early on. So we're looking at a point here through 3 games where you expect the Colts to struggle early because of the new faces, the new quarterback, but they realistically could be 2-1 or 3-0 there. The Bears are in the same situation. Bringing in Nick Foles, how much time they're going to have for him to prepare. The difference between Nick Foles, Phillip Rivers here. Phillip Rivers is very familiar with Frank Reich's system. He actually was a coach, for Phillip Rivers in it was San Diego then for the Chargers, not too long ago. I think one of his career years, I want to say 2015, Frank Reich was a quarterback coach turning offensive coordinator. So they may have the edge on the Bears in that category. The Bears are a team you want to play earlier on because of that situation. You play the Browns, you play the Bengals, and then the bye week is week 7. That's a fantastic bye week. Not too late, not too early. That is a fantastic bye week. Too early, it's just, you have so much to play the second half of the season. Your second half of the season is just too many games. You're going to get beat up before the playoffs, so you don't want too early. Too late is the worst possible situation because almost every team just has injuries that plays or has their bye week late. Just playing week after week after week. You got some short weeks in there. It's rough. Week 7, perfect. Let's back up a little bit. You look at the top 6 weeks. I mean, for a team that may need time to adjust, time to figure themselves out here, they might have a pretty good record. I mean, they could lose they could lose week 1. But, looking at the Vikings and the Bears are the tough ones there. Those, if they're going to lose 2 games, those would probably be the ones. But they could really win both of those, too. The Bengals can be a sneaky team, but they're home against them. It's week 6. They're starting to figure themselves out. This is a fantastic roll, I would say. A fantastic draw of a schedule for a team that needs an early break. They got it. They got the bye week break. You look at the second half of the season, the Lions are obviously beatable. And then it gets a little tough here with the Ravens and the Titans and the Packers. And then the Titans, again, those are really good teams, obviously. So you could say that's tough opponents, and that's true. I don't base everything off of – everybody plays tough opponents. Everybody does. But playing the Ravens at home, what I like here is that they don't play their big-time division games till late. That's good because the Colts are going to be a good team once they get rolling. They don't play them in the first half of the season. They play them after the bye week. So playing the Titans and the Texans down here and getting the Jaguars out of the way early, if there was any game they wanted to get out of the way early out of a division game, it's the Jaguars. So playing the Titans in week 10, 12, and the Texans 13, 15, obviously tough games because those are pretty good teams, but this is a really good role. You're going to play those teams no matter what. So that's why I don't really factor in opponents. Like, they play in the same division. You're going to play them twice no matter what. So you got them in a pretty good situation here. Playing them a little later. Packers, it's at home. That's fantastic. And then playing the Steelers late. I like the last 3 games. You get the Texans at home. You could predict they can split, and Colts have an advantage. Probably the favorites in the home game, and then at the Steelers. Why I like this, Steelers could be good, but their game is pass rush. The Colts can, that they're good at stopping the good pass rush teams. But another thing, Steelers. You rather play them later than earlier because, by the time week 16, are they going to be fully healthy? We see the difference in team with and without Big Ben. So it's a fantastic role or schedule draw to play them down here. And then maybe a chance to get in the playoffs, or maybe you're already locked in fighting for a better seed. You're home against the Jaguars week 17. You play them 1 and 17. Just the way the schedule is laid out, where you have the bye week, when you're home, when you're away. One primetime game at Tennessee. The Colts seem to play pretty well against the Tennessee Titans, so I think that's a favorable one there to have one primetime game. That's the one, I think, in my opinion. So everything checks out. Yes, there's tough opponents down here. I like when they play the tough opponents. They play the Vikings early, a team that needs adjustments as well. The same with the Bears. You play the Steelers late. That's perfect. Even the Raiders. Derek Carr was lights out early year last year. Second half of the year was pretty bad. So, where you're playing these teams, I think is perfection. I really like the schedule for the Colts. They're right there at the top for easiest schedule, one that stood out. The other one, and probably back and forth, but probably the one I would give the crown to for easiest schedule, best layout, it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals. So the Colts and the Cardinals were teams that were kind of like borderline playoffs, maybe not in for me before, maybe like a team like the Cardinals, maybe not in, even though they're a sneaky team. But because of these schedules, we see how much of we have the draft hit, and then we have the schedules hit. We see how much of a difference this makes and who I think will make the playoffs. Cardinals have a realistic shot now. The Colts have a realistic shot. The Cardinals, a team that most would have out. I'm looking maybe they have them in because of the schedule. I love playing the Niners in San Francisco week 1. That is a fantastic role for me, in my opinion. The Cardinals played the Niners tough last year no matter where the game was. The Cardinals kind of got that new schools type of offense, a young offense that's growing, getting better, including their coach. They kind of have that tough to game plan factor, and they're just going to continue to keep getting better, and that's obvious. So playing the Niners early, the Niners win off pass rush as well. Everybody seems to get pressure on Murray, and that makes the job tougher. But it's not really a guy that you're going to sack an insane amount of times, so that won't be a huge factor. Playing them away, week 1 where anything can happen, and then playing them home in week 16 where you're going to be confident, and especially with the Niners, a team that has some injury concern all the way down at 16. I think this is absolutely perfect. They have a chance to beat them twice the way this is laid out here. The defending NFC champs, defending champs of the West, they have a chance to beat them twice the way this is laid out. So that is perfect. And then you look at the opponents too. You got Redskins home, Lions home, Panthers. A lot of adjustments with the Panthers, new coaching, new players, new quarterback. The Jets, they could really get through week 5-5-0. 4-1 maybe, but this is a very solid roll for the first 5 games. The Cowboys is in Dallas prime time. It's winnable. It's not a crazy good game there. A crazy, we're going to beat them for sure type deal. But then Seattle, they put up a good fight with Seattle. They upset them late last year. They're home here. Going into the bye week, which is a good bye week, not too early, not too late, obviously, so that's fantastic. going into the bye week, we can be looking at a pretty darn good record after 7 games. And you come out of the bye week, you're home against the Dolphins. The Bills will be good this year. I like the matchup for that game for the Cardinals, and they're home on top of it. So you're fresh off the bye week with 2 games that are very winnable. You go to Seattle prime time. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one probably. But I think you're rested still without, after the bye week here, so that's good. The Patriots, not the same team they used to be. The Rams at home at the Giants. You get the Eagles late, a team that you'd rather play later rather than earlier. They have another team with the injury concerns like we talked about the Niners playing in Week 16. So that is fantastic, 15-16. It's also fantastic playing the Rams twice, who we know they already have to play them twice. They're playing them both late. A team that I think the offensive line really killed them down the stretch last year, and they improved their team with playmakers, especially through the draft, but they did not improve that offensive line. And offensive lines take shape down the stretch, down the crunch time of the season. That's just how it works. Early in the year, offensive lines don't really, seem too much different. We see the true identities down the stretch in crunch time. I think that has to do with where, and just the unit kind of getting tired out. And they play the Rams twice late. I think that is fantastic. End the season with them. This is a really good schedule for the Cardinals. They have a chance to be more than a playoff team, really. Here, I'm not saying they're winning the Super Bowl. I think they still have to build that offensive line. But in terms of more than, if you see the schedule and you're like, okay, the Cardinals might sneak in, it might be more than just sneaking in. They have a shot to win their division because of this. So those are 2 easy schedules that stand out. There's a lot of easy schedules based off opponents, but factoring opponents bye week, when you play, this is the layout in general. Those are 2 that really, really stand out. In terms of the 2 hardest, we're going to start with the Giants. It's a tough schedule for the Giants. A bad roll, in my opinion, a bad draw of the schedule. You're looking at the Steelers week 1. I mean, a team, they're going to be healthy here unless some fluke crazy thing happens. You're playing the Steelers at their full strength. Remember, the Steelers would have made the playoffs last year if there were 7 teams. The Steelers were that close to making the playoffs with 6 teams making the playoffs out of the AFC, and that was with awful offense, terrible offense. No quarterback, James Conner getting hurt left and right. Juju was a little off at times as well, mainly because of the quarterback play. And the defense really carried them to that point, and they would have made the playoffs last year after the 7. Now you factor in Big Ben, everyone at full strength, James Conner, everything kind of coming together because they've been adding some good young talent. Devin Bush is second year. They had a pretty good draft without having a first-round pick. You play them week 1. That's the worst time to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Worst time to play them. It's a primetime game. You're at home, and the Giants still got a lot of young guys, so that's a tough one. Yeah, you'd rather play the Bears. There's good spots where you can play the Bears, early and right around their late bye week. But yeah, at Chicago, at Soldier Field, it's one of the tougher, maybe the toughest places to play, especially, then when the Bears, that crowd is still hyped up because, they got a chance here. To do something good still at this point, and it's kind of a tough situation. You got the Niners, you're at the Rams, you're at the Cowboys, so we're through 5 weeks here, and they could be 0-5, even though the Giants could be a sneaky good team. Why? Because they got some sneaky young talent, new coaching staff. Saquon can really boost the rest of this team, I think, open up the running game, which opens up the passing game. So they're getting better, but, through week 5, they could be 0-5. Am I predicting them to be 0-5? Yeah, that's a good question, but they could have 1 win, maybe 2 maximum, really. So that's tough. You look at the Redskins as winnable. I don't like the role of getting the Eagles 7-10. The Eagles are a team, later they might be more beat up. We've seen Carson Wentz get beat up. We've seen the receiver unit get beat up. We've seen the offensive line get beat up. We see them go through corners like crazy. Darius Slay, they add a really good corner, a top corner. He's been off the field late in seasons. You rather play the Eagles later. You play them twice, and you would think if one's earlier, like a week 7, the other one would probably be later. No, you get them twice within 10 weeks. You can't like that too much. And then, at Philadelphia, prime time, pretty tough. The Buccaneers, that's right around when the Buccaneers are going to be heating up. They're going to go through an adjustment period, but they're going to be really good. At Washington, the Eagles, again, the bye week, week 11 is an absolute killer. It's a dagger. Teams that have the bye week late, start to get beat up. Playing weeks 1 through 10 in playing back-to-back prime time in there. There's a Thursday. The teams don't like Thursday night games. Fact. There's 3 prime time. There's a Thursday night game against the division rival Eagles when they're at full strength, most likely. You're worn out. This team is worn out by week 11. Guys might not be able to come back even with the bye week. The good thing is that I don't know if the Giants have too many injury-prone guys. We've seen Daniel Jones beat up last year, I think playing it safe. We've seen Saquon Barkley beat up last year. Yeah, it was an injury to kind of miss a game or two. I think they played it more safe than that. But so they do have the concerns in major spots, but it's not like they have guys that are injury-prone. But still, Week 11 bye week is not good for your young team, and you're going to come out of that playing, I would imagine, a heating up Joe Burrow Bengals team, and then you're at Seattle. The Cardinals are very much improving. You're down the line at Ravens, Cowboys. This is a tough schedule based off everything. The draws you got, where you play these teams. Like I said, the Steelers early, the Eagles twice, somewhat early. The Bears and the Niners in those spots where you play them. The bye week being that late, and then coming off the bye week at Bengals, at Seahawks, Cardinals, the end of the year. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. 3 primetime games, 2 of them are home, but you look at that and you say, wow, the Giants got 3 primetime games. 2 of them are home. They got lucky. Yeah, you could say that because some teams have 0 primetime home games, the rest away. But the home games are the Steelers in the worst possible time you want to play them, and the Buccaneers, who could really be the best team in football, are up there and right when they're starting to heat up. And the other one is at Philadelphia. So that's pretty rough. So everything's rough about this Giants schedule, and it is, I'm giving it to, with 2 teams the crown for the hardest schedule, which is not really a good thing. But if you manage to play pretty well, if the Giants come out of this with some, maybe not make the playoffs still, but, they played pretty well. There's a lot of promise for this, so that's a pretty darn good thing. So that's the good thing about the hard schedule. But then we go to the Falcons, which is an absolute brutal schedule is the best way to describe it. The Falcons seem to start slow every year, the last recent years, I'd say. They just start slow. They look sloppy. And a lot of blame went on the defense last year, as it should, early on, because they were giving up a lot of points. But what people didn't notice, what I noticed, is the offense would really start slow in games early in the year, first half of the year. The defense would let teams instantly score, but the offense would have their turnovers. Matt Ryan would actually throw some interceptions or turn the ball over early in games. They just would not be able to convert when you expect them to. They had a little bit of a kicker situation, I think, early. They kind of adjusted that down the stretch. But the offense let the defense down pretty early, which put a lot on the defense's shoulders, and then they gave up a good amount of points, and it was just, and the Falcons' offense would start to heat up in the second half of games, but it was just too late, and the defense couldn't really help them out at that point either. So that kind of went into it. Coaching went into it. The game plan in general. So the way they start with Seattle. You think a well-prepared team, good coach staff, Russell Wilson. It's a well-prepared team week 1, you would think. So that's tough. And they go to Dallas. You play Chicago. They have a good chance. Playing Chicago when they're still trying to adjust with Nick Foles, a whole new offense there, and it's in Atlanta. So that's pretty solid. Not saying they're going to win. It's pretty solid. But then you got to go to Lambeau. What is that? Monday Night Football. Pretty rough there. And 2 weeks later, you're playing the NFC North here. You're going to Minnesota. The Lions, playing the Lions early on. When the Lions they're a good team. They're a pretty complete team. But they, for some reason, down the stretch of the season, they either get beat up. We've seen Stafford in the past playing hurt late, which he's not himself. And then we've seen last year they actually just sat him out because he was that, hurt, because I think playing through injuries. We see Kerryon Johnson go down. We see just inconsistency down the stretch as well. Early on, that's a sneaky good team, it feels like, every year. So you play them somewhat early here. That's not good. You're at Carolina Thursday nights, prime time there. The Broncos are going to be a good team. There it is again, the late bye week. So you're up to the bye week here, and you got, starting off slow. If you usually, they usually start off slow. If it continues, as Seattle at Dallas, you play the Bears, Packers, Vikings, the Lions at full strength, at Carolina, the Broncos. You're not looking at a pretty good. They have a chance to have a good record because really you still think the Falcons could be a good team with that offense, but that is tough. And you're going into the bye week late, which means injuries, and guys that may not be able to come back after they need multiple weeks to recover. You see it every single year. Not for maybe every single team, but most of the teams. So they might need multiple weeks. And then look at the back half of this damn schedule. You're going to New Orleans fresh off the bye week. Usually, yeah, the bye week you get rested. Like I said, guys still might beat up, but at least you got the rest. At least you have extra time to game plan. But you got to go to New Orleans. Very tough. They did play the Saints pretty well last year, even though they didn't have the greatest season, but they played them pretty tough. And you got the Raiders, but then you're going again to the playing the Saints again, just like that. It's just tough. And then the Chargers, you'd rather play earlier than late because they're adjusting at quarterback. It's a really good defense. And when really good defenses show that they're really good defense, they're going to win games for the team is in crunch time, late. And they got the offense quarterback situation figured out at this point. The defense is really rolling. You're at L.A. You don't want to play the Chargers here. And then we just talked about they play the Saints twice within 3 weeks. They're going to play the Bucs twice within 3 weeks to end the year. If let's say they need to get in the playoffs, you just play the Saints, Raiders, Saints at Chargers when they're feeling it. The Buccaneers are a team you rather play earlier rather than later because they're adjusting a lot of new faces, and everybody knows they're going to be really good once they figure it out as long as they're healthy. You play them week 15, 17. And let's give them the Chiefs at Kansas City, the best team in football, the defending champs in week 16. The Falcons are going to have no choice but to dominate that first half of the season before the bye week and stay healthy. They really have no choice, which they can win those games, so winnable games there, even though it's very tough. But second half of the season, Saints, Chargers at Chargers, Bucs, Chiefs, Bucs, that is absolutely brutal because kind of going back, I said they have to dominate the first half of the season. Dominate it. Why not just come out? Why can't they come out with a positive record? Maybe not by that much. Because that second half schedule. What if, if you're cutting it close and you're fighting to get in the playoffs going into Bucs, Chiefs, Bucs, you're not going to be too confident. So brutal roles where you play teams, when you play them. You look at the prime time, I'm just realizing now that there's two of them. They're both away. Is that correct? Yeah, at Lambeau, at Carolina. Thanks, NFL, for the 0 for 2, primetime games there in terms of home away, so both away. You play the best two NFC North teams away. You play, the bye week is late. You're beat up. And I mean, this is just brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Unfortunate. It's tough to make the schedules. Just thinking about making for 32 teams when the games are played, it's tough. But some of these schedules that are so skewed, off, it's strange, very strange. So those are the schedules that really stood out in my opinion. Let me know your guys' thoughts. There's definitely other ones that are tough, easy, but not just enough where I just unique enough where I throw them on the list. I thought the Raiders are a team that they play tough opponents, but they have 4 primetime games, all 4 at home. So I thought that was kind of a unique schedule. But yeah, these are the hardest and easiest ones. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Please smash that like button. Would really appreciate. Click that subscribe button as well. 2 channels. Follow that Twitter. It's a must follow. Link down below for anything you need from us. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for everyone for their support. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.